On the evening of March 13th, 1997, the skies over Arizona were crystal clear. Thousands of people had stepped outdoors, looking up to catch a rare glimpse of the Hale-Bopp comet passing overhead. But what they saw instead became the most widely witnessed unidentified aerospace event in modern history. A massive V-shaped array of lights, estimated by many observers to be a solid structure up to a mile wide, glided low across the state. The reports pouring in were consistent and physically baffling. Witnesses insisted this gargantuan craft made no sound and seemed to hover directly above residential rooftops at 30 miles per hour. Yet, despite thousands of residents reporting a city-sized ship moving through local airspace, air traffic controllers staring at civilian radar screens saw nothing. We are left with a contradiction. Either the physical laws of aerodynamics broke that night, or we are looking at a demonstration of how a clear sky can reveal the limits of human perception. To figure out what actually happened, we have to split the Phoenix Lights into two separate events. The first wave began around 8 p.m. as a linear transit, with witnesses tracking a formation of lights moving south from Prescott down to Tucson. We have precise timestamps for these sightings. The lights covered that 200-mile geographical distance in exactly 30 minutes. If we divide that distance by time, we get an average linear velocity of 400 miles per hour. When an object moves at high altitude, its relative motion across an observer's field of vision appears to slow down. At 16,000 feet, a jet cruising at 400 miles per hour registers to the naked eye as moving at a crawl. This geometric effect, the altitude angular velocity illusion, explains why witnesses reported the craft was hovering. The mathematical reality of that timeline confirms the objects were traveling at the cruising speed of standard military aircraft. That altitude also accounts for the silence. At 10 to 16,000 feet, the roar of conventional jet engines is dissipated by atmospheric boundary layers long before the sound waves reach the ground. Witnesses reported a solid hole blocking out the stars, but this is a likely result of Gestalt grouping. Intense glare from formation lights desensitizes our night vision, rendering dim background stars invisible. The human brain then connects those bright dots, drawing an imaginary dark boundary to fill in the blank space. We have physical proof from astronomer Mitch Stanley. Utilizing a high-powered 10-inch reflecting telescope, he pointed his optics at the passing V-shape. His lens gathered 15 times more light than the human eye, allowing him to clearly resolve the glowing orbs into 5 distinct A-10 Thunderbolt jets flying in a tight formation. The reason civilian radar operators saw nothing is that military squadrons flying under visual flight rules use a single transponder protocol. Only the lead pilot broadcasts a signal. If that pilot switches their transponder to standby, the entire 5-ship formation effectively vanishes from civilian radar consoles. Under a dark sky, a routine military exercise bypassed our sensory limitations, turning independent points of light into a singular optical illusion. But the iconic home videos of the Phoenix Lights didn't capture that 8 p.m. transit. They recorded the second wave of the event, which occurred around 10 p.m. south of the city. This secondary phenomenon was the result of a Maryland Air National Guard training operation. A-10 aircraft dropped high-intensity LUU-2 parachute flares over a nearby testing range. The extreme heat of the burning magnesium creates an updraft, allowing the flares to drift horizontally on the wind. The appearance of the craft submerging behind the city was caused by mountain masking. The unlit peaks of the Sierra Estrella Mountains sat between the distant flares and the observers in the Phoenix Valley. As the parachute flares slowly descended, they passed behind these invisible mountain peaks one by one. To a distant observer, the sequential winking out created the illusion of a rigid vessel turning or dipping below the horizon. Without illuminated landmarks to provide a sense of geographical depth, a string of falling pyrotechnics became visually indistinguishable from an unconventional ship. When the sun came up the next day, hundreds of citizens contacted local officials, demanding to know what had flown over their homes. Phoenix City Councilwoman Frances Barwood attempted to launch a formal investigation, compiling hundreds of witness reports. Instead of answers, she was met with bureaucratic dismissals and silence from military officials. When authoritative institutions refuse to provide transparent explanations for anomalies, they create an information vacuum. Communities experiencing the stress of a mass sighting are often forced to fill that void themselves. This administrative paralysis birthed local folklore, like the story of Richard Curtis. According to the narrative, Curtis filmed high-definition video of a metallic ship, only to have the tapes confiscated by mysterious men in black before he vanished. This legend provided a way to explain the total lack of concrete physical evidence. The legacy of the Phoenix Lights is a study in how human perceptual failure, combined with institutional silence, manufactures a persistent modern myth.